let's say, well, I don't know what kind of access they have to wild game. I kind of have a reputation in the area here of preparing wild game. I would have to say I like a rigatoni with a bolognese sauce or something hearty, meat sauce with that. That's fairly simple. But I mean, I could also go to lollipop chops of venison loin, and I mean, also while they're at dinner, it would make me happy if they talked about personal action, things that they can do to make a difference. So what I tell everybody when I go out and speak and do presentations and those kinds of things and talk to students about what they can do as their action, I recommend that you ask what local wine, what local beer are on restaurant menus, and order those items, and what local foods, and then order the local food. My name is Mark LoParco. I'm the director of UM Dining at the University of Montana, and I also happen to be currently the president of the National Association of College and University Food Services. Yeah, the UM Farm to College program is one of the first in the country. We started in 2003. It started from a conversation that I had with one of the professors from the Environmental Studies program, Neva Hassanen. We had a conversation, we were both on the Recycling Oversight Committee meeting, and she asked me a question about local food and what my thoughts were about it. And I have always, since traveling to Italy, liked the idea of local food, and I associated what that means to communities. And so I said I would really like to get more involved in purchasing local food, but I don't have the staff to do it, frankly. And she then hunted down for me 4 of her grad students. And then we began the planning of an all local food meal. And on May 3rd, I think it was, in 2003, we had our first event called Montana Mornings, and it was all local food. And from there, the program has really blossomed into something that is very sustainable and a pretty well-known program throughout the country. Well, there's a couple of reasons that I think that it's important to go. One, my moral compass is based in the right thing to do. So the first test is, this is the right thing to do. But why is it the right thing to do? Well, it's the right thing to do because communities have lost, in many communities, they've lost their local food system. And Missoula happens to be a very good example of that. In the 50s, 70% of the food that was produced and eaten by people in the valley was produced in the valley. And now it's something like 10%. And so there's a reliance on agribusiness. And my concern with that is that that's where I see this country as being food insecure. That there are 6 or 7 companies, and all the food travels through those, world food travels through those companies. And so, yeah, we've got enough people in the world that we need agribusiness. I think we need responsible agribusiness, but I think it's more important that communities go back to what made them successful for centuries, I guess. Certainly, as we got into more urban communities, the whole glue, if you will, was the food system and the interconnectedness between the people and the production of food and the consumption of food and the social aspect of that. We've lost that. We've lost it in terms of family, and I think it's replaced with, you know, going out to dinner, but that's different than I think what a strong, vibrant local food system produces. Oh, the food supply was 93% of the food that we served was through a wholesaler from anywhere in the world. There was no conscious, pointed, purposeful effort to buy local food prior to that. So in other words, 7% just happened to be stuff that was foods that were produced locally. Now we're purchasing over 20% of our food on a $3 million budget, and local being defined as the state of Montana. So one of the purposes of our program was to strengthen the agricultural economic development in the state of Montana. Now we have we're purchasing over $800,000 annually in local food from 134 to 170, depending on the time of the year, food producers. And we're talking about agricultural food products. Some people, we could claim Coca-Cola as local food. We know that our local bottler buys their sugar from Billings. It's a sugar beet sugar from Billings, and their water's from the Missoula aquifer. But that's not the kind of sustainable agriculture that we're talking about. We're talking about real farm and ranch products and value-added products. And when we started this program, everyone said that it's going to be more expensive. It costs too much. That was the easiest excuse not to do it by some of the schools. And there's other schools within the state that aren't doing it, purely on the anecdotal thinking that it's going to cost more. Yes, some items cost more, but other items cost less. So we've been at it now for 11 years, and I've been tracking our food cost records that whole time, and we're either at or below industry standards. It has not cost us more to do this. Now, in fact, depending on how you define cost, in terms of the value to our student guests, what price do you put on that? And so from my standpoint, let's take oil. We cook with safflower oil from Montana for everything. Students are going to eat fried food. So we deep fat fry in it. We make our salad dressings with it. We saute with it. We have two oils, olive oil, which you can't get from Montana, but it's essential, and safflower oil. Now, I could buy significantly less expensive oil to fry in. It's also significantly more harmful to your health. So when you talk about cost, and I have a registered dietitian on staff, and she told us, if you're going to fry foods, this is the best oil for our students. So, it depends on how you look at things. From my standpoint, it's because it's healthier for our students. In the long term, it's more cost effective from more of a global perspective. So that's an example of where, I could spend twice as much on that oil, but it has other impacts. That oil that we're buying, safflower oil, also is one of the best oils, and ours is reused for biodiesel fuel. So we actually donate it back to the company where we buy the oil, and they run their farm machinery off the oil that we've cooked in. When we first started this, of course, we were pioneering in this, so we've seen the obstacles. First thing was teaching local farmers the difference between wholesale pricing and retail. We can't buy at the price that they're going to sell at the farmer's market. We have to buy at wholesale pricing. So that was one of the first things. And then the other thing was teaching them all of the paperwork that's going to be required to do business with a state institution. Then there's the distribution and delivery of products, scheduling and making sure that they can get the products to us in a time frame that we need them. But those were just, they were hurdles and they were challenges, but we got over those. And one of the really cool things about this area is what's the Western Montana Food Growers Co-op. That kind of got started because of the volume that we were buying. And I think there's between 34 and 40 farmers that are just growing food for the co-op. And of course, the volume that we go through, I couldn't have my food buyers call 30 farmers to get 300 pounds of tomatoes. And so this co-op started up in the Flathead Valley, and it's been fantastic. I mean, that one call and we can get all of the items that we need. And they also then began selling to the local restaurants, and now they have a very viable business enterprise that helps the farmers and is that good connection between the restaurateurs and the farm. And
is the National Association for Colleges and Universities Food Services, is that moving in this direction with you at the helm?
Well, yeah. One of the things that's happening right now is there's a lot of certifying agencies out there. In other words, we happened to sign, we were, again, one of the first in the Pacific, we were the first in the Pacific Northwest to sign on to the Real Food Campus commitment. And that commits us as a dining department on campus by 2020 to be purchasing over 20% of all of our food products from sustainable sources. But at the association level, sustainability is a priority. But right now, the association is going through some governance work, and we can't. We're focusing on that right now. Sustainability is a priority, but we have to get our governance model squared away, and then we'll actually go through the process of selecting what other associations. Now, we do have a voice at the table with some of our members. You see recently Michelle Obama is having some things to say about school food service. She also has had some things and put together a work group looking at collegiate dining. And the concern that I have, while I'm very supportive of that, is that unless you're in the business, to be on the outside looking in and say, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get certified, that doesn't always work. It's not something that can be done via a cookie cutter, a national group committee put together and say, okay, go out and these are your standards that you have to conform to. Leeds learned that when they came out with LEED certification. Things that were written for Florida didn't work in Montana, so they had to rework their standards. But we definitely want a place at the table for those discussions, because the other voice that is at the table is contract food service. And make no mistake, contract food service is a for-profit entity. Now, I am for-profit as a self-op, but my profit stays right on campus and benefits, 100% of it stays on campus and benefits the students at the University of Montana. And again, there are some places for contract food service, and there's some places where a campus is better served self-op. That's a little off the subject, but. So a contract food service company like Sodexo or Compass or Aramark, they are corporate America. They're for-profit, and they will go into a campus, and generally they will dangle a sizable amount of money in infrastructure improvements for a long-term contract. And again, I want to be clear that there are places for that, but my concern with that is that their allegiance is to the corporation and their shareholders. And they need to generate money. So they're making these huge contracts with buyers, wholesalers from all over. So their food sources are wherever, and it is based on best price. So it's a little different focus, I believe. When you're part of the campus and you're of the fabric that the campus is made of, you're much more in harmony, I guess, with the rhythm of the campus, the needs of the students, and that's just my personal feeling on that. But there's a corporate piece to that that just isn't right for our campus, let's say. Yeah, we have this thing called, we do omelets on Wednesdays typically, and I think it was about, I don't know, I might have been doing this for 15 years. We just started playing around, and then I kind of took on this persona for our students of the world famous omelet guy, and it's about making great food and making a great omelet. But yeah, I like to see if I can put a smile on a student's face from 20 yards away, which I can do regularly. And they just have fun with it. And it breaks up the monotony. It's stressful for students. They got to eat in the same place for 16 weeks. And so you want to break it up and have fun with them. Yeah, I've dressed up. We've done for Earth Week, we did the Green Man group. You know, if you think of Blue Man group, only all green. We did that. We've done the Beatles. We've done we've done Rolling Stones. We've done Motley Crue. We just pick up a theme and go with it. We've done Alice in Wonderland, the Rocky Horror Omelet Show, and yes, I did wear a bustier and fishnets. So we just, we have fun with it. Well, a lot of them come to me and us.
So we'll put your email up there?
Sure.
Okay.
One of the again cornerstones of our program was that it had to be it could be duplicated. So in other words, it is an institutional model. So and we have it very, very, very well laid out. And I talk to campuses all the time. I go to campuses. I'll do anything to promote a local food system anywhere. And we're state schools, so it's not proprietary. We'll give it away. There are some recommendations that I have them start with, and that's kind of what we did. We looked at the low-hanging fruit. And in our state, that was beef, oil, and grains. So we started with those items and then built outward from there.